So want to encourage our participants to engage with the NSG as well to find out more information around what's available or how we can support you in continuing this journey with us. We want to welcome our presenter for today again, Peter Rall. Nice work that we've been doing so far, and we're glad to have you here. We look forward to learning more again today. Thank you. You can take over. You're mute.
Let me unmute. First of all, thank you everybody for this. I was just in another session, so apologies for me running a little bit late, but I am here. And first of all, I would like to say thank you to the NSG and to Colson and the team again for having us. So for those of you that don't know me, guys, I'm Peter Roll from the Net Campus Group. And last time when I spoke, I just basically touched on how AI is starting to impact people on various levels of industry. And we definitely nowadays are starting to see how this is rippling around the world. AI has been around from the early 1950s, as I've mentioned before, and it has since then evolved where it has really come into the limelight as from the launch of OpenAI's ChatGPT model, which we saw release in the sort of 2019 November to 2020 November period, when it became very, very popular. Now, since then, a lot of new technologies have launched, and a lot of this then has filtered through to tools like Microsoft's Open Copilot project, which uses the technology of OpenAI, such as ChatGPT, with Microsoft's programs to then help us bring this into our day-to-day activity. So I'd like to just go into the different things that we can do with the AI, which I think is a real time saver. Now, what I want to first demonstrate is that when we are inside our web browser, guys, if I go and I open up my web browser and I have the Copilot system enabled, which is from Microsoft, we can see that it's there because of the little logo in the right-hand side of the search bar, but also on the right-hand side where you see my identification showing. When I click on this, it's going to open the web browser then with the panel that I can interact with. Now we can see that we can have the ability to swap between our work account or our web account at the top. And what we can then do is on the right-hand side, we can basically say, okay, I would like to go back to some of the talks that I have done before. Now, one of them that I did was just a fun little one, which I want to show, is a logo design with a purple cow as the company name. Yes.
Sorry, you are not seeing your screen.
Is it not sharing? Let me
No,
share
you're not sharing.
again. Let me share again. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Let me get back into Zoom and let me say share.
Peter, I think it will be best to share your active screen.
The active screen.
Yeah, that's the first one. So when you share on Zoom, select the first screen. So then that way, when you move between screens, we'll be able to see it.
Yeah, so the entire screen, this one.
Well, I can't see it, but yeah, your entire screen.
Yeah, so let's just, guys, is it showing now? My apologies.
Yes.
Okay.
You're on Copilot. Thank you.
So yes, I am in Copilot, and I just want to bring this to the foreground. So in Copilot, what you guys would notice is that on the right-hand side here, I've had some previous little chats with it. And in the window here, I've got 4 little examples of a logo that I asked for a company called Purple Cow. And then it came up with some fun ideas. Now, this is one of the examples of AI being able to use natural language, which is the ability of us as humans to communicate with the AI system with what we will then call the large language model, either in written text or in some instances, if we're familiar with ChatGPT, for example, on the phone or with Grok, we can speak to our programs on our phones and it can then speak back to us. So that is one example of what we have available to us. Now, if you want to basically start your own one, you can basically say to the Copilot, let's start afresh. And to do that, I can then click at the bottom here where it says, okay, message Copilot. Now, let's say that I want to come up with some ideas on talks that I can maybe deliver to an audience. And this talk that I would like to deliver to an audience would be about agentic AI, which is the use of agents to do work on my behalf. I can basically say to the AI system, I am giving a talk to an audience on agentic AI. They are wanting to understand this in simple English. So I'm being very specific. English without too much jargon. Suggest some talking points for this. And then I press enter. Now we give the AI system about 30 seconds. So it shouldn't take longer than 30 seconds. The models are very, very fast. And there we can see that it goes about and it basically generates a couple of things for me. Now, what I can see is it can say that they can turn this for me into slides. And I would say to it, yes, please. I would say, yes, please put it into a slide show for PowerPoint. So I'm being very specific and call it. And in this instance, I want to call it agentic AI intro. Now it's going to take a little while. Again, plus minus 20 to 30 seconds. Shouldn't take too long. This now is generating the slideshow for me in Excel from Copilot. And once it is there, I see that I can download it. So if I go and I click on it, there it has gone. It has now opened it up for me. And I can go and view it. And then when I double click it, PowerPoint will then open it. And I can say to it, enable editing. This is just so that I can then actually go ahead and add some extra features to it. And at this point in time, if I just run through this by saying F5, there it has it now without any icons, without any video. I can fix that up in a moment, also using the built-in Copilot features that are inside PowerPoint. It tells me what it is. So it says to me here, agentic AI is like a smart assistant. Please note that it now won't have any of these jargon words that a lot of us hate. That basically waits for instructions. It then figures out what needs to be done and does it on its own. So that's one of the awesome things about agentic AI. And this is the buzzword for this year. Agentic just means it's an agent that does the AI work for you. Now, unlike traditional AI that needs constant human input, the agentic AI can make decisions by itself, take actions, and also learn from experience. Why is it important now? The second slide, it says we're moving from AI that helps us think to AI that helps us act. And agentic AI is becoming more common because, first of all, it saves time by automating tasks. It can handle complex decisions. It adapts to changing situations. Then some examples in everyday life, the use of simple real-world analogies, customer service bots that not only answer questions, but also process refunds or rebook flights. Then, as for the AI scheduling assistants, they can be used to find the best meeting time. I'm sure that many of us have seen that in Outlook. When you, for example, want a meeting, it checks your schedule against the people that you invite from your organization. And you can even say to it, if it shows you that a person is unavailable, find a time where we can all meet. And then it might say, okay, we've got 20 minutes available today or tomorrow morning at 8:30. Just as an example, I'm just making up the times, and then you can schedule your meeting according to something where everybody's calendars at that point in time of scheduling the new meeting basically fits and suits everybody. Also, what is very nice is that it can send the invites and reschedule if need be. Smart home systems can also be used where it can, for example, adjust your lighting, your temperature, and your security based on your own personal habits. Now, again, I'm sure that many of us have had this where you get home and you sometimes wish that your children left the lights on for you because they know that you are getting home at 6 or 6:30, especially in winter where everything is dark after 6. And it's nice to get home to a home that is actually quite warm and welcoming rather than freezing with no lights. Now you trying to carry bags from the car and still trying to switch lights on. So that is smart home interaction. We still not as big in that as overseas is. Then how do they differ from chatbots? Where a chatbot would simply answer questions like what I'm doing at the moment, an agent can solve problems. Now, this we see especially in the world of computer programming, where we have different agents that specialize in computer programming. And a lot of people at this point in time are sort of saying that, yes, in the future, probably in the next 2 years, we will not need programmers anymore. Now, that is not a true reflection because, as I often say to people, we need to remember that AI is a tool that works hand in hand with us as individuals. So when we do work with AI, the AI is just a tool to enable us to get more done. And the sort of statistics globally shows that you will be 60 to 70% more productive through the use of AI, enabling you to do more in shorter periods of time. So the risk of AI taking over your work versus a person who knows how to take AI and use it effectively is not so clear and cut. I think the person who uses the AI is a bigger threat than AI itself because the AI can't yet do anything that you do as a person. And there's certain things like counseling, for example, that AI will never replace. Now, chatbots are reactive. They always just react to what we give them as a input, whereas agentic AI can plan, it can reason, and it can act. So for research work, for example, you can say to an agent, go and find me the sort of statistics of the economy, say in South Africa, over the last 10 years, and also focus on unemployment per region. And then the agent will go and do the research which we as humans would have had to do sitting in a library for many, many hours, and sometimes also driving from place to place to get more resources, like from magazines or newspapers, and manually try and do it. Now, as we see what it threw out here for what it means for the work, remember I said to it, please create me a very short little presentation. It says agentic AI won't take your job, but it might take over the boring parts, which is a great thing because I don't know of anybody who enjoys doing repetitive, boring things over and over and over again. It can handle those repetitive tasks. It can help us make very important decisions by giving us suggestions. And then we can, with our own rational mind, say, this one is actually quite a good point. That one is not so great. This one I'll rather scrape and I'll rather look at the fourth suggestion. So in this case, I might have two that I can then focus on. And it does, as I've mentioned, free up a lot of time for creative and strategic work, which is where we as humans excel. We are exceptional at coming up with creative ideas. When you look at a painting that an artist has made or a sculpture, you can sense that person's intent and you can get a glimpse into their personality from that specific point of view. So that's something that AI can't mimic, same as emotions. Now, some of the challenges and ethics that we have with agentic AI, and this is generally true, guys, for all types of AI, it has to be kept in a grounded way, meaning that it has the foundation knowledge that we feed it being monitored and checked, especially so that it does not have any bias in it. So you want a grounded foundation from which your AI, through machine learning, can basically gather its knowledge and information. Now, how do we make sure that it makes fair decisions? That's something that we always have to ask ourselves. Now, in a test example for this point here, a few years ago, they did a sort of HR system that looked at people's applications and sorted them. Already, this is being used in recruitment, and they had a system that was biased against men. So men would go into the interview, the system would see that they were male, and because of that fact, they would then be biased towards them. And this they just did as a test run to see how the men would respond afterwards when the woman was also asked how they experienced it. And it was literally day and night, the two sides of the story that you got from the men and the women. So when we do use these systems, we need to make sure that it is fair and that it's just, so that it doesn't sort of favor one individual over another because of something that we have made it biased towards. Then, very big question here, who will be responsible if the actual system, the agent, makes a mistake? Now, this is in all AI systems. Say, for example, you've got a self-driving car or a self-driving truck or a self-driving taxi or self-driving or flying plane or boat. What happens if it gets involved in an accident or if it avoids an accident and in doing so injures another user of the same mode of transport in the process? That is a very big question. Is it the people who develop the AI then that will have to face the court, or will it be the users of the system that have sort of signed off to say, I know that this is a possibility. I hereby sign off any claims against the AI system. And as the human driver of this vehicle, I will still be responsible in case of an accident and full investigation. And then how do we keep humans in the loop? It's very important that we maintain humans in the AI human cycle because you need human interaction. And as I said, if it's used properly as a tool, there is a very interesting saying that we have already, which is where we work hand in circuit with the AI system. So we as humans with a hand, the computer with a circuit, and we're working hand in circuit. It's almost like we're taking one another's hands and guiding one another towards a common goal that we both want to sort of solve. Maybe it's a problem with clean energy. Maybe it is a problem with water reticulation, where we want to get water from one point to another and make sure that it's safe and clean for human and animal consumption with no impurities. Now, as for what is next, this is just now from the AI's perspective with the PowerPoint presentation. It is not just about smarter machines. So as we know, artificial intelligence is where machines are getting human-like capabilities in its thinking processes when it mimics the human thought process, where we also have a left and right brain for analytical and creative that works together to solve things. So too, a computer system will approach something and mimic that thinking process that we have as humans. Obviously, stronger on the logical side with facts and figures than what it is on the emotional and the creative side that we as people, again, have a great strength in. And we need this partnership between us as humans and the technology, no matter what the technology is. And that then brings us to the end of that little presentation. Now, another part of this that we can use is the designer tool, where when we click on it, it will generate some slide examples. And let's say I want to have this one. That looks quite nice. Then I can go to the second slide. Again, wait for the AI to generate some ideas for me. Maybe I like this look. So then I'm going into what is agentic AI. And now because I used one that was quite colorful, we can see that it suggests some, and if I'm not happy with these guys, I have the ability right at the bottom to say, see more design ideas. And if I click it, the AI will generate a slide design for me without me having to reinvent the wheel. So I can then scroll down, find something. Maybe I like the blue with a little circle here. Then for the next one, let it do its design, stick with that same look and feel. How's it different from chatbots? In this case, let me stick with that blue design so that I get consistency. And then towards the end, I can say to it, okay, still sticking with consistency. I'm not making any changes. Then challenging the ethics. Maybe I'll go again now for something that looks a little bit more classic. And then from here, again, maybe I can switch to something a little bit different because we're getting to the end of that slideshow. And I could then go Control M just for a blank show and say thank you to it. And then maybe at this point in time, I can say, okay, generate a look. I'm going to go for that. The end. Go Control E, so it is in the middle. And then at this point in time, if I again restart, just to show you what it looks like now, I think that you all agree that this actually looks a little bit more professional than just the plain white and black that I had in the beginning. So it definitely helps and enhances the actual experience. So we can see that agentic AI is not just for smarter machines, it's about building better partnerships between humans and technology. And then there we see the end, which is telling us that, hey, Peter, you have reached the end of this sample little presentation. So at this point in time, I could then say to it, you know what, that is enough. Let me get out of there. And I can then swap back to the Zoom session and see if there's any questions at this point in time from anybody. So, ladies and gentlemen, any questions there? Let me see in the chat window, because I know last time there were quite a lot of chats popping up. And I like to answer questions as they appear before I move on to something slightly different. I hope that that explains a little bit about what this whole agentic AI is. Any questions? Not anything there at this point in time? Good. Let me then move on to Excel, which I know is a program that a lot of us love to hate. Sometimes it's a program that can bring tears to everybody's eyes. I just want to ask if everybody's still seeing my screen. If you can just say yes to me. Does everybody see that I'm in Excel?
Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you so
Yep.
much for that,
Yes.
because I don't want to lose anybody. So guys, again, when I open Excel and I open a blank workbook, mine I've just added extra sheets because I like having more sheets than just one. I don't like working with just one sheet, so I always start with 3. If I go into the typical way that we work with Excel, I know that we all very familiar with how we can set up a table. So if I go and I'm in cell A1, the home cell, and I say name, for example, and I say Mark, let me just do Mark, and then let's say that this is Mary, this will be Mark, and then Mpo, and then Tazaya, just as an example. For Mary, let's say that she got 70%. For Mark, I might have had 30. Then Mpo might have had 45. And then Tazaya might have had 88, because Tazaya knows her stuff. I know that we have the ability to go and make this into a table. So just in the traditional way of doing it, if I copy this and I paste it over into the second sheet, and I then highlight this, I know that I can go Control T and then make sure that it has a heading, and there I'll have a nice little table. Now, if I click on the table, because this is how Excel works, we know that we will get extra tabs in the ribbon. In this case, it gets a table design one. And if I click on it, I can see that this one is now called table 1. If I click there, I can call it my table, just to give it a name. And that is how we would typically make a table. Now, for me, if I want to do the same thing, I can open up Copilot in Excel. And I can say autosave is turned off. Now, in order for it to work, I need to turn autosave on, because it has to make use of my OneDrive, which is the system that I need to work with. And I'm just going to say OneDrive on NetCampus, and I'll call this one sample 13. Give it a name. Now it is linked. Autosave is on, so it's linked to my OneDrive, and Copilot can actually now make use of the actual data. So if I go and I highlight my data, I can say to it, you know what? Make this into a table. Now it says understanding your data. You'll see it goes red for a short period of time. There it is. And there it says to me, sure, looking at A1 to B1 and sheet 1, here's one change to review and apply. Add a header row to your table. So I'll go yes, apply. Now in that case, notice that it did not do a lot of nice work with it. If I go to sheet 2 where I made it into a table, notice that the Copilot icon is here. So I just want to show you. I can now say to Copilot, either suggest a formula column for me, summarize this using a pivot chart. Now, a lot of people hate pivot charts. I can click that. And in a moment, you'll see that it will then, again, make the selected table that I gave a name red. There we see the red in action. It now analyzes A1 to B5 on sheet 2. And there it gives me an example of what it wants to do. And I can very simply now below it click on add to a new sheet. And if I zoom into this, note that I now have the pivot table. So if I click on this, I can say deselect everything. And I may want to say to it, okay, just give me Tizaya and Mary, for example. And when I say okay, they then automatically get pivoted. I can also say to my data, so going back to sheet number 2, where I've made it, I can now say to it here, make me a pie chart, or not a pie chart, make me a bar graph. And I know that I called this one table. So I'm giving it a few seconds. Again, it will go red as soon as it analyzes where my data is. And there it's coming up with its ideas. So I can then say, add this to a new sheet. And now I can see that I've got my pivot and I've got my data. If I zoom in a little bit, that's showing quite nicely. And if I go and make a little change, take mark out, for example, we see that it updates. If I take the filter and I say select all again, and I say okay, then it comes back. So it's now fully interactive. So again, just by using the AI, I can now basically take control of my work schedule. And let's say that I'm not familiar with a formula that is used quite a lot. So I don't know, for example, how we used to do it is we would go into a column that I want to add. Then we would go into the Home tab of the ribbon, move over to the editing group and double click auto sum to see that it gets to the answer of 233. Now let's see if the AI is able to do this. So I can say to it, right click if I want to, use the AI button there, and I can say, I want to let it work. So it tells me that that would be a good category. And what I could maybe do is I could say, okay, use this. If the mark is greater than 50, it should be a pass. Otherwise, it should be a fail. Now, maybe again, I don't like doing that manually. but I just simply click on the AI and it then adds that for me. I can also say to it, in this case, that cell that I want the answer in is B6. So I can say in B6, create a formula to add the mark values into a total. Let's see what it suggests for me. Again, it will go red. And in this case, if I say insert row, there it goes, and it gives me the heading now total, and it says 233 without me having to even touch the formula bar at the top. Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but I prefer the AI analyzing my data and thinking for me in ways that I can get from my data source what it is that I want to present to my actual audience. Now, again, I want to just ask at this point in time if there is any comment or any question. I'm sure that many of you are already using it. Yes, Paco. Your hands up, Paco? You muted?
Okay, you may go ahead. You have rights to speak. Kindly unmute. Okay, while Paco is busy, I'm gonna give Mamiki a go.
Okay. Mamiki, if you also unmute, I see you also have a question for me. I hope this is exciting, guys. I love it. Yeah, I'm not getting any audio from Mamiki or Paco. I see the hands up.
Yeah, I have given them permission to speak, so they can unmute themselves. Okay, you may continue until maybe it's the okay.
It's fine. It's fine. So, guys, another area where
Sorry.
Yes, there we go. I hear audio now.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation.
Yes.
And then can you please help me? How do we transpose using the this AI?
Okay.
Are we able?
So with the AI that I'm using here, this is built into Microsoft 365. It used to be called Office 365. Now, if you've got a subscription of Office 365 or Microsoft 365, the new name that everybody knows it by, when it changed its icon from the orange rectangle to this beautiful blue ribbon that they have nowadays, you then can have a subscription for Copilot. Now, at the moment, I'm speaking under correction because I know it changes with the Rand dollar exchange all the time. But last time that I checked, this was about a month ago, it was $20 a month on top of your Microsoft subscription to get the Copilot license. And I think that the agreement that Microsoft has is that one has to pay for it for a 1 year period in advance. So it's 12 months subscription, same as when you basically go to Incredible Connection or wherever and you buy Microsoft 365 for Office so that you get Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. So there's a year subscription that then gets added on top of it, and then you get the full functional Copilot in there available to you. And you know that it is available when you open up your program. So if I, for example, open up Microsoft Word and I say blank document, you'll notice that Copilot comes up on the side, and also here in Word, it's got a big, big part right at the top, which I can zoom out a little bit just to make it a bit less obvious. And when you then click on it, it will then be able to be used. So here, let's say that I want to, in Microsoft Word, say to it, write me a introduction letter to GPG. So Gauteng Provincial Government, I'm just using that as an example. And then I'll say generate. And it's going to then put in some details. And then I can go and look at that and finalize it by adding in my details where it has these square brackets. So again, it takes out the hassle that we had to have in the past where we had to memorize. How do I do a business letter? How do I do a informal letter? How do I do a thank you note? All of that is built into the AI. Now, there are free methods of using AI as well. So if you don't want to pay for the full version of Copilot, you need to just set up your Microsoft account, and then inside Microsoft's browser, inside Edge, you then have very limited use to Edge as well. So if you go into Copilot in Edge, you can easily click on that little icon and then get the features, but it won't then have all the features. So it will come up like I'm doing here now on the right-hand side, and it will have some basic features, and you can then sign into it with your Microsoft account. So most people that have a Microsoft 365 account has a Microsoft account already. And there's typically a work account or a personal account, just to keep the two sides of things separate. I hope that answers your question, sir. Also, ChatGPT, you can on OpenAI's website create an account and then log in to ChatGPT, and for free use the features of it. But again, you'll have certain restrictions per day, so you can't do too many requests. You can't generate more than a certain amount of images, because then you would have to wait for the next day. It's the only difference between the paid for and the free version. So there's just a little bit of restriction there. Anybody else?
It looks like we're good. Thanks,
So
Mr.
we're good. So guys, that little example that I did there in Word, I think this is a good little example. So with this one now, it's introduction letter to GPG, building connections and opportunities. Then it starts off and says, Dear GPG team, I hope this message finds you well. My name is, and then obviously I can then go and click on it and go and change it. And then once I'm done with it, I can say to the file Control S, which is the shortcut for save. And again, it will save it in my OneDrive, because it needs to be there so that Microsoft can keep your document safe and in your organization, and your privacy is always at the forefront of Microsoft's AI. They don't want your personal sensitive information to leak out to the world. So that's why they keep it on your OneDrive, and it is then in an isolated space. So I know that's sometimes a question that some people might have. Now, as for the example that I just want to show with regards to Outlook, so I'm just going to open up Outlook and I'm going to say new email. Now this opens up with my standard email. At this point in time, what I can do is I can say the draft with Copilot. So I could very easily now inside there say to it, write a thank you letter or email. Peter Roll. From NetCampus. And when I say to it, okay, cut, paste. Now it says writing your email. There it says, Dear Peter, I hope this message finds you well. I wanted to take a moment to express my gratitude for the support and assistance that you have provided through NetCampus. Your dedication and expertise have been invaluable and truly appreciate the time and effort that you have invested. Now, at this point, I can very simply just go and say, okay, Peter, go and find Peter Rolls' email address. So there's my NetCampus one. If I do that, I can then just simply at this point in time say back to Copilot, and I'm happy with this. So at this point in time, don't want to discard. Let me write that again. Thanks. And now let's say I don't know what to say here. I can use Copilot. Say to, hey, Copilot. Then let's feed it. I can press enter, or I can do that. And now I can say, okay, replace. And there it says, best regards from NetCampus team. And I can then easily send it, send. Send, I'm happy with it, I trust it. And then in a few seconds, there we go. There's my email from AI to me. And it looks like I've written it. So it just says, thank you very much for your assistance. We greatly appreciate your support and look forward to continuing our collaboration with you. Best regards, the NetCampus team. So you don't need to, at this point in time, do anything to the email. You basically just suggested what it should write on. And if you've got a very, very long email, let's say that a client sends you a long email, you can also use Copilot to say to it, summarize the important points for me from this message so that you don't spend time sitting there and going through unnecessary reading. So guys, I hope that this little introduction about AI and the way in which we can use it inside our programs, that is Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Teams even has it. You also can get it in Outlook, as I've shown, and in PowerPoint, has helped you to see the benefits of working, as I mentioned earlier on, hand in circuit with technology in order to improve your lives and in order to sort of not fear the AI, which is just a tool. It's like a calculator. When you're doing complex mathematics without a calculator, it becomes difficult. Yes, you can do it with a pen and paper, but I would not recommend that. So from myself, I would like to say thank you for giving me this opportunity to again share my insights as a lecturer and facilitator at NetCampus. So from me, Peter Roll, thank you, Colson and team, for this awesome opportunity. Are there any final questions, ladies and gentlemen, before we hand back to the team at 2? good? Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks,
Findy.
Peter.
You're welcome.
We had planned a longer session, so we didn't know that it was going to be this short.
So are there more questions, guys? Because I can show more demos because I think it's really something I'm very excited about AI. I don't mind sharing, but so far the delegates are very quiet.
Please then, colleagues, to raise your hand so that you ask questions so we can deal with specific issues. The demonstration has been shown. You've shown us on Word document. You've shown us on Excel how we can use that. Did we do anything on doing slides? Oh, yes, you did that one
Yes,
as
that
well.
was PowerPoint. And then in Teams, if one is busy in Teams, one could also with Teams use the Copilot, as we said, like with the Outlook program, to, for example, schedule a meeting where it matches and fits in with everybody's schedule, because it can be quite annoying setting up a meeting and then only you and maybe another person is available only for 5 minutes because there's other urgent meetings. I know, I have that myself.
Yeah. Okay. So do we have any takers?
I just also wanted to, maybe Peter, if you can also just maybe show our attendees that we can also do citations within Copilot.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. So citations, let me, for example, get a document. So I want to maybe get a Word document. So I'm going to open a blank document again. Let Copilot come in. And let's see if it will do so. Otherwise, I'll switch back to my Microsoft Edge, which is the web browser that has Copilot in it. So I am writing a research paper on the impact of AI in...
I'm not seeing your screen now.
As it's not showing, let me share it again. I don't know why it stopped sharing, because it's share again, share screen, and share again. Let's see if it's sharing now. Is it showing again, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, we can see it.
Brilliant, brilliant. So I'm just typing to it in Word. I'm writing a research paper on the impact of AI in the workplace. Nice. Find me a few articles and write a piece for printing to delegates with citations. And I'm always very, very polite to the AI. So I always say please and thank you, like I do with people. I've just been trained with good manners, but I know you don't need to. A lot of people don't say please or thank you. So there, it has just gone into basic little Outlook. So we can see that it did a 2-page, and then it gave us a couple of references at the bottom. So just to read through this, guys, just to show you what it did. So it says to me, there's no information in the reference context about articles and the impact of AI in the modern workplace. But when they then have the title here through the AI, we see that it says to us transforming work dynamics and efficiency. So it starts off by saying artificial intelligence, or AI, is revolutionizing the modern workplace, reshaping processes, enhancing productivity, and redefining human roles. The transformative technology, characterized by machine learning, natural learning, language processing, and predictive analytics, is influencing everything from routine tasks to strategic decision making. As for automation and efficiency, AI-driven automation is streamlining repetitive processes that traditionally consumes significant time and resources. A report by McKinsey Global Institute highlights that almost 60% of all occupations have at least 30% of their activities that may be automated using AI technology. And this was done in a study in 2017. By managing administrative tasks such as data entry and scheduling, AI enables employees to focus on higher value activities, fostering creativity and innovation, for example, within organizations. Then, as for the rest of this, enhanced decision making, your AI system leverage massive data sets to provide actionable insights, optimize operations, and basically predict future trends. So this is especially good if one is following trends and you want to find out whether something is going up or going down with prediction. And what we can see here is that companies such as IBM Watson Analytics and Salesforce's Einstein are empowering businesses to make data-driven decisions with unparalleled accuracy. According to Forbes, businesses using AI for analytics improve their decision-making by up to 33%. And this is from a study in 2020. As for workforce upskilling, which is where we all need to be at this point in time because we're not too late, we didn't miss the AI bandwagon. It's still a brilliant time to get onto it, to learn what it is and how to use it. AI adoption necessitates a shift in workforce dynamics, encouraging employees to acquire new skills to complement AI capabilities. As automation takes over mundane tasks, the demand for specialized roles in AI development, maintenance, and ethical AI governance is surging. PwC's Workforce of the Future report predicts that by 2030, over 50% of workers will need to transition in order to have advanced skill sets. This was in 2018. This shift is prompting governments and corporations to basically invest heavily in reskilling initiatives. Now, some of the challenges, despite all the advantages, the integration for the workforce poses challenges. Concerns about job displacement is widespread, with employees fearing redundancy due to automation. And again, the World Economic Forum reports basically estimates that by 2025, 85 million jobs may be displaced, while 97 million new job roles will emerge. So as people learn new things, they will definitely go forth. And I think that's a good way, guys, to show this. Carlson, I see you've got your hand up, ma'am.
Yeah, no, I also just wanted to ask if you can maybe also touch on generative, what is it now? I lost my train of thought. Images, yes. That
Yes,
we can
generative.
also ask AI to create images, for example, sometimes, yes. So
Yes.
maybe also touch on that a bit. Thank you.
Yes, we can. So if I, for example, I will just use this now as an example document. So I'll just click behind this, press enter twice just to not have a bullet point and be on a new line. I can switch back now to my actual browser. So again, if I just want to open a blank Edge browser window, there we go. I can now click on my Copilot. So I just want to move the attendee pane down a little bit so that I can see the little screen. And what I will see is that AI now opens on the side. Now, let's say that we want something to be creative. What shall we bring in as a fun little creative idea, guys? Give me some ideas.
Mm,
Shall we do a purple cat wearing sunglasses?
yes.
Okay, let's do an image of a purple cat. I know this doesn't exist in real life, although I don't know in Santon that's possible. Purple cat wearing dark sunglasses on the beach. And let's see. So it's now generating an image for us. There it's starting to pop through. So I'm just moving the pane to the side, guys, just so that everybody can see what's happening over here. And then in a short period of time, it will give us between 1 to 4 images, depends how the server is. If the server is very busy, it will just do 1 image. Now that looks funny, but let me say, make the image more lifelike. So I don't want a cartoon character. I want it to look like a real cat, more lifelike. I could have said realistic. That looks nice. So at this point in time, I can say download. So it's downloading now. And then what I can do is inside Word, I can now go and say insert. And I can say at this point, select me a picture from this device. It will be in my downloads. So on my left-hand side, downloads there, and I can say insert. I can then resize it. Now, guys, one thing that is quite nice with the way that OpenAI works is that it won't allow us to have pictures, for example, of famous people that it will generate. So we don't have that happening. So at this point in time, in line with clothes.
And then Peter, we have a question from Umpo, and then we also got a question in the Q&A.
Okay, Mpo.
Yes, hi Peter.
Hi,
Peter, just
Mpo.
quick, yes, just a quick one. From my side, with regard to policy, what does policy then, do we have to redo policy in alignment with what we are taking from the net? Also, given that there's quite a lot of working from strategic position, there's quite a lot
Okay.
of information that needs to be secured. And while we put it on the net,
Yeah.
maybe, or we source it from the net. What do we do in that case? Because we seem to be original. It seems to not be our original thought process. It might be that we've prompted it,
Yeah.
but still, at the moment, it won't be. I'm talking from
Yeah, from legal.
government. Yeah.
Yeah, from legal and government. So with regards to the actual security side of things, as I mentioned before, if one has this in SharePoint or you've got it in OneDrive, your data is secure. That's one thing that one can read up on in Microsoft. If you go to www.microsoft.com/learn, you'll be able to read up there on Copilot and the security measures that it has in place. Also on Copilot's website itself, if you just Google Copilot, you'll be able to read up what it does to keep your data secure. And it is a good thing to have a policy in place that is discussed with the security team, the IT security team, to say, guys, are we allowed to use AI? Because you don't want just anything to be sort of AI generated without fact checking, because what happens is AI itself has the ability to what we call hallucinate. It can make up things. So one has to always, with AI, fact check it in order to make sure that it is true, that it is accurate, not just generate and go and publish it to the world. Because then one will sit there with egg on your face and you don't want to look like you don't know what you're talking about, because now you trusted the AI. There was a lawyer in America that was struck from the role because he based his one client's defense on a fictitious case that AI generated, and he won the case. But then the judge went and read up to find out where is this case that he's referring to, couldn't find it, and then the guy said to the judge, I used artificial intelligence. So one thing that one could also do is one could have a little line maybe at the bottom of one's document or somewhere to state that some content in a document has been generated by AI. And that way, with discussion then with your legal team, I think one should be covered. The big thing is not to use any copyrighted material in your grounding when you basically train your AI models. And there's big laws now at the moment that has forced these big companies to sort of start digitally marking AI content so that people can pick up that, hey, this image, for example, of this purple cat does not exist, unless maybe somebody in Santon decided to dye it with purple hair color. I don't know. But I've never seen a purple cat with sunglasses. I don't know about you. I hope that answers the question, Paul.
Thank you. And then let's see, there's a question in the Q&A. What
Yeah.
training and change management will be needed to prepare public servants to work alongside increasingly autonomous AI systems? And
Okay.
then there's this, yeah, I don't know if you want to deal with that one. There's also another one. Can
Okay.
Peter also cover AI in graphic designing? Being given the responsibilities of creating posters and banners for my employer. Thank you.
Okay. So with regards to the actual training that one needs, I would suggest that everybody starts off with the Microsoft AI 900 course. The AI 900 course is a course that is basically guided towards all people. It's not for technical people. You don't need to be technical. You don't need to be very computer savvy. It's the fundamentals of AI. So the Microsoft AI 900 course would be a great one to start off with. Then once one has completed that, you can then decide which part of AI you want to go into. Do you want to go into Copilot training, or do you want to go into Microsoft Azure training? Now, Azure is the cloud platform of Microsoft. They do have two sides to Microsoft Azure. There's the government cloud, which is where they basically, for America's government and for other governments around the world, have a very secure side of the cloud that we as normal consumers, as the public, don't have access to because of the strict rules and regulations. I know when I was with the military and we worked with, for example, intelligence and signals, we could not discuss anything that we were doing with anybody other than our commanders, our people above us, and only under certain circumstances when asked to provide something directly to them. And then you had to have another senior official as witness with you. Otherwise, you couldn't speak about anything because we had the NDAs. So the same thing would hold true to government systems as well. But again, I think it is something that the legal teams would be able to advise on best. And then from there, when one then chooses a path, do you train people into Copilot, which is the tool that works with Office, which I think is beneficial for everybody? Or do we go into the path that is for Azure, which is for cloud storage? Because I know that a lot of institutions are going towards cloud rather than on premises, or they're doing a hybrid approach where some parts of their databases are kept on premise and other parts are kept in the cloud just for backup reasons and security. And then the other question that we had, that one was with the images for advertising and all that. Now, again, with consulting and being given approval to do so, one could use AI-generated images, just having to make sure also that when you do so, you don't breach the Poppy Act. So you can't, for example, take a picture of me without my consent and then use me in a AI advert line of print media things for the magazines where they paying you money or you paying them money if I didn't give consent, because then I can take you to court and say, hey, they've broken the Poppy Act, they're using my face and they're making me appear as if I'm supporting something which I'm not for. And a lot of models nowadays can also do wonderful video from text. So you don't just have text to image, you also have text to video, and there's various vendors that actually offer that service. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen?
So we've got another 2 more questions, and it's
Yes.
hey from Miki, and saying, are we able to generate any document using Copilot and use Outlook to email that document automatically at any specific time? So that's the question. And then the second one is, hi Peter, if I generate a prototype or software using AI tools like Flutter to code the software, do I need to disclose or just keep that information as intellectual property?
You can keep it as intellectual property. The only thing is you need to make sure that whichever one of the AI tools you use for the actual generation of the code is not using code bases that it got from copyrighted sources. So you need to just see what the actual terms and conditions are for using the software. And then as long as they toe the line, you should be covered, because by copyright law, you also, for example, I can't put a copyright now on this purple cat with the sunglasses lying on the beach because it's not my work. It was generated by AI. So I can't claim copyright of my purple cat. So I hope that answers that question. And then as for the question with the emails, yes, you can. But as you saw with Copilot, when I made that little thank you note to myself in it, it said to me, I needed to check that it had no mistakes in it. Now, I know by now that grammar in AI is very, very much of the highest standard. So I don't need to spell check it 99% of the time, 0.9. It is accurate. It won't make grammatical errors. But if it is something that's based on facts, like, for example, this little part that I did with the context that I went for, I could then at the end, once I'm happy with this, for example, remove that little part with the references and then format it and add or take away from it, and also just verify that these references are legit and that they do exist and that I read through them when I have them, to just cover myself so that I don't get caught out. And this way, a lot of students nowadays are having a lot of issues because they basically submitting work which they say is theirs, but it's AI generated, and you can check for that with tools like Check It In to say, this is 90% or it's 50% AI generated. I think most schools have a thing that you need to put that in your references as well for your citations for your project. Anything
Great.
else?
And then there's one more from Yolitha, and she says, is it considered ethical to use AI when updating one's CV, considering that resumes need to be optimized for AI-powered applicant tracking systems?
Yeah, you can use AI, I know, for basically customizing your AI CV to basically match any job description. So for people like myself, I've had 29 different career paths. starting off with military and then working my way through as electrician, sales, marketing, advertising, web design, graphic design, animation, all of those, and IT training in various fields. If I, for example, have to apply for a management post, I will let the AI look at my CV and then let it be customized with the keywords that the actual job poster is looking for. And the AI will then do that for me. Now, as long as I've got the experience to match what the AI is basically putting forth as me being able to do, and they can test me by putting me down and saying, Peter, do this for us, I'm good. But the problem comes when people are fabricating something and they've never, ever done something. It's like me saying to you, I can fly a Boeing 747 from Cape Town to Joburg, and I've never been in even a little microlight plane. That will be horrible because, first of all, I'm lying. Secondly, I'm putting people's lives at risk. So there is that concept of the ethics that we always have to think about. When is it ethical? When is it not? But a lot of people are doing that with these CVs nowadays. So that was a very good question. I like that one.
And it looks like that's it for questions. Yeah, that's it from our side.
No, brilliant. And ladies and gentlemen, if there's any more questions from anybody, please feel free to drop us a line at info@netcampus.com with any questions on courses or on further information on what we have on offer regarding AI as a Microsoft certified partner. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Peter,
Thank
for
you.
your training. We really enjoyed it for the last few modules that we've done with you.
Thank you.
It's been very informative. I hope we've all learned something. And as we said when we started, it's not the end of the relationship. We'll continue engaging with Microsoft on how to assist the public service with AI. Colleagues, stay looking at the NSG website to see what's coming up, what's on offer that you can take up, and what we'll be doing on this space. We will continue bringing more things that will assist you even in the IT space. Thank you so much. That's the end of our webinar. Until next time, Peter. Thank you.